Hi there, so we want to look at a couple of questions in management accounting, specifically under budgeting in this series, and look at various things and various issues in relation to that to assist you to prepare well for your examination. Now, so you can get access to these questions by looking at the description box, and if you are watching this video on YouTube, so check this link in the description and you can download these questions. If you are watching it also on my study portal, Nhyira Premium University.com/courses, you're already watching it on the study portal, you can click the link below the video and you can get access to these questions, because these questions are not in your question kits that you received when you enrolled in the course. Now, so like I mentioned, these questions we want to look at here in this series is going to be on budgeting, and we're going to look at a full question on budgeting, which is divided into three sub areas. We have A, we have B, and we have C of the question, and we are going to go through it and see how we can deal with the various issues that must be dealt with in relation to that. So let's start with the first question, and that is Royal Music Limited. So let's put the name down. Royal Music Limited. So let's look at the requirement first. It says, prepare a purchases budget of Royal Music Limited for July through October. And that is 8 marks. Prepare a purchases budget of Royal Music Limited for July through October. So we are preparing for July, August, September, and October. And so that is for 4 months. We are preparing the purchases budget for these 4 months. So let's go back to the question and let's see what we have in the question. Royal Music Limited is a merchandising business which sells electronic keyboards. Each month, the company purchases enough keyboards to meet sales operation and maintains the ending inventory at 40% of the projected next month's sales. 40% of the projected next month's sales. The average cost of a keyboard is 500 Ghana cedis. The firm is expected to follow this policy on July 1. The budgeted sales from July to November are as follows. So we've been given the budgeted sales from July to November, and it is 800, 900, 1,002, 1,800 respectively for the budgeted sales from July to November. And the requirement is prepare a purchases budget of Royal Music Limited for July through to November. So in this question, all the parents, we are preparing the purchases budget. And as you may know already from budgeting, you know that when we are preparing the purchases budget, we're going to be bringing the sales unit. We less the opening stock. Once you are lessing the opening stock, you're going to be adding the closing stock. And then boom. That's what gives you the purchases. Okay? That's what gives you the purchases units in relation to that. So sales unit, less opening stock, add closing stock, and that gives you the purchases unit. So having this idea in mind, let's look at the question and see how we present the question. So the first thing we do is to ask ourselves what is happening in the question. There is a key statement that the examiner made that we need to take that into consideration. It says, each month the company purchases enough keyboards to meet sales and maintains the ending inventory at 40% of the projected next month's sales. So the ending inventory, meaning the closing inventory, is 40% of the next month's sales. 40% of the next month's sales. That is very critical. That is very important. So the question is, what are the opening stocks here? We are not giving any opening stock, but the examiner has given us a clue on how we can calculate or compute the closing stock. So once he has given us a clue on how we can calculate or compute the closing stocks, then we have to do that first before we answer the question. So let's crunch that up and go through that in relation to that. So I'm going to be bringing June, July, August, September, October, November. Now somebody may ask, why am I starting from June? There is a reason for that. So let's go. Then we bring the sales, budgeted sales given. June, we are not giving budgeted sales for June, but we still have to bring that because of the computation of the closing stock. So this is workings for the closing stock. So workings 1, and we are working for the closing stock. So what are our budgeted sales? 800, 900, 1,002. So 800, 900, 1,200, 1,000, and 800 respectively. So these are the budgeted units. Now, once we have the budgeted units given, we are told that the ending inventory is 40% of next month's sales. What does that mean then? So to get our closing stock, which is 40%, it means the closing stock for June will be 40% of July's sales. Does it make sense? The ending stock is at 40% of the projected next month's sales. Okay? So the closing stock for June is going to be 40% of July's sales. And so 0.4 times 800, that's 320. Then the closing stock for July will be 40% of August. Okay? So 0.4 by 900, I have my Casio here, and that's 360. Okay? Then we go again, 40% of 1,002, that's 480. Not going to be adding anything here. Okay? Then 40% of 1,000, that's 400. And then 40% of 800, that's 320. So these are the closing stocks respectively. Remember, how are we computing this? We are computing this based on the statement that the examiner has made. And the examiner said that the company maintains ending inventory at 40% of the projected next month's sales. So if I want a closing inventory for June, I ask, what is the sales for July? I take 40%. If I want the closing stock for July, I ask, what is the sales for August? I take 40% respectively. So that is how we compute the closing stock. So now that we've finished computing the closing stock, what do we do? What do we do? Now we have our closing stock. Remember that the closing stock for one period becomes the opening stock for another period. That's also another concept that you must understand. So the closing stock for June becomes the opening for July. The closing stock for July becomes the opening for August. The closing for August becomes the opening for September, and it goes in that order. So now that we have our closing stocks there, we can now prepare the purchases budget. So let's slash it in down here. So purchases budget. Now we are preparing the purchases budget from the requirement of the question, July through October. So July to October. So let's do it. So July, August, spell that right, September, and then October. All right. So what did we say? We said we bring the sales. So budgeted sales. So budgeted sales July is 800, 900, 1,200, and 1,000 respectively. Then we less opening stock. So how do we get the opening stock? So we're going to be bringing opening stock. And then we add the closing stock. Now, so closing stock for July is 360, for August 480, for September 400, for October is 320. So the closing stock has been computed like this. So June's closing stock becomes the opening stock for July, and that's going to be 320. And so the closing stock then for July becomes the opening stock for August. So 360 comes here. It follows in that order 480 and then 400. So these are how we substitute the figures into it. That is why it is critical for us to first compute the closing stock before we get our answers. So now that we have the preambles there, sales less opening stock, so we are lessing this. Let me put that in brackets. And then we add our closing stocks. So let's add up that and let's do that. I'm not going to close because I think currency has been given to us. So let me do the arithmetic here. So 800 minus 320 plus 360. We're going to have 840 here. Now this is going to be budgeted purchases units, okay? So this is purchases units. And then we do for this 900 minus 360 plus 480. That's giving us 1020. Then we're going to have 1002 minus 480 plus 400. That's going to be 1120. You can confirm these figures if you are also punching. If I'm wrong, it could be arithmetic. So 920. So these are the budgeted units. But that is not what the examiner said we should do. The examiner said we should prepare the purchases budget. And you know that the purchases budget is in two ways. It's in units and it's in value. So this pro forma I put here, as I told you, is purchases units. So that's the first aspect. So how do we get a value component? We get a value component, we go back to the question. The examiner said the average cost of a keyboard is 500 Ghana cedis. So we put that there. So cost per unit of the keyboard, that's in Ghana cedis, that's 500. So we're going to slash that in throughout. Then when we multiply, we now get the purchases in value. Okay? We could have brought Ghana cedis there and go straight up. So 840 times 500, that's 420,000. 1020 times 500, that's 510,000. 1120 times 500, that's 560,000. And then 920 times 500, that's 460,000. So this is how we prepare our purchases budget for July through to October. Remember, in the question, we were not given the opening stock. And so the way we get the opening stock is to calculate the closing stock. And the examiner gave us a clue on how we have to compute the closing stock. So that is how we prepare the purchases budget in relation to that. The only thing that you have to know about the preparation of the purchase budget is the issue about deriving your closing stocks. Usually the opening stocks may not be given like this question, but the examiner will give you a clue on how you can compute the closing stock. So once you have compute your closing stocks, the closing stock for a period becomes the opening stock for the next period, and we go with it in relation to that. So that's the purchases budget, and I'll see you in the next video as we look at another type of budget, and that's going to be B, Nhyira Company Limited, and that's about trade receivable. So I'll see you in the next video. Remember to subscribe to the channel and also hit